This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
A little Johnny Cash there for our friend, our Morning Drive listener who communicates to us this morning, listening to the Morning Drive on board the Southwest Chief Amtrak train. It's a long train with 3 engines approaching Barstow, California, enjoying the trip. Amtrak served us a real nice steak in the dining car last night. Nice. I'm not adjusted to Pacific Standard Time yet. #Reckham. Very nice.
Awesome. Have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Have fun. Whiteface, they are the antelopes, Jamie. They are the antelopes. 4 o'clock kick on Saturday. We'll have Optimum Game Day live coverage beginning at 7 a.m. Saturday morning from just outside the Fraser Alumni Pavilion, just right across the street there from Jones Stadium. It'll be the 6th home game of the season, final home game of the season. Final regular season game is next week when Texas Tech takes on Texas. But first things first, it's UCF. What's your take on the crowd for Saturday? 4 o'clock kickoff. That's a interesting time. I can't remember ever having a 4 o'clock kick. I'm sure they have, but I don't recall in my season ticket history of having a 4 o'clock kick. Not that I've gone back and looked through it, but we've had some interesting times over the years. But I have no problem with it. It'll be get a little bit of sunshine, get a little bit of moonshine, not the West Virginia kind, just the good old moon that is up in the sky.
Okay. So the question was, what's my take on the crowd?
Yeah, what do you think the crowd's going to be like? Think it's a full house? Think it's 90%, 80%, 75%? What do you think?
I think it'll be a good crowd. I don't. I think everybody probably pretty happy that you're getting the chance to be bowl eligible and senior day, and it's the last home game. So. And the weather should be good, so I would expect it'll be a good crowd.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the weather is going to be pretty good. It's not
too hot, not too cold.
Right, it's a perfect date. 67 degrees for a high. The low is going to be 50. Just an 8% chance of precip. Looks like a partly cloudy sky. So should be no wind advisories like you have on Sunday or Monday. So no swirling wind, but. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Man, the south end zone is really coming along. They keep adding steel. We got a picture yesterday of the bullfighter delivering some steel to the stadium site, the construction site there on the south end. I wonder how that's going to affect the wind and field goal kicks and all that kind of stuff when it gets all said and done, when it gets all built.
Probably will a little bit.
Yeah. I had conversation with somebody the other day. We talked about this a little bit. And this person insisted that this is what's going to happen. So as soon as the football season is over, like December 1, even if they make a bowl game, that football building on the south end zone is coming down. And it is going to be built and rebuilt, torn down and rebuilt.
Football training facility?
Yeah, the football. I mean, okay. Not, the building, where the offices are.
At the FTF?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
the FTF. Yeah, the FTF. Okay. The FTF. It's coming down.
I was going to say, there's no building at the south end zone right now.
Right, but right there at the south end.
Okay.
But
that's the one that's over by there.
It's over by there. It's not directly south.
Okay.
But the football building is coming down December 1, and they insist that they will have a building ready to go for everybody to move in by August 31st of next year.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be like this 2-story. I mean, that is quick work.
It's 9 months.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
still, it's a 2-story building.
It's going to be a 2-story building.
Yeah, that's quite a project.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that have built things or tried to get things remodeled that haven't been able to get it done in 9 months. Now they're probably going to work on it 24/7.
Yeah, I would guess that they'll have a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean they're going to make quick work of it.
I don't want to say money's no object, but it's close.
Yeah.
It's fair. It sure It sure seems that way. It sure seems that way. 6:19 this morning here on the morning drive. Texas Tech and Central Florida on Saturday. We'll have it at 4 o'clock for you here on Double T 97.3. Now, the other games in the Big 12. Does anything just stand out at you this weekend that you're like, okay, that's a kind of must keep track of, a must watch, must just curious about how it's all going to go down?
I think ours is the best matchup.
Okay. You've got Oklahoma at BYU. That's at 11.
Should be a blowout.
Cincinnati at West Virginia. West Virginia a chance to get to 7 wins.
I think West Virginia wins that game.
And I'm just going to say this. I think if West Virginia should lose this game, it's going to cost Neil Brown his job, despite getting to be bowl eligible.
In a season that they didn't expect to be bowl eligible.
Right.
Okay.
But I think it's one of those deals where, like, okay, coach, here's your chance to kind of have a 7-win, potentially 8-win season, and show us what you got, because now you're going to play a team that you should beat. Baylor and TCU, both those teams really going nowhere. TCU has to win out to become bowl eligible after making it to the national championship game from a year ago. Oh my goodness, man alive! How about that, Jamie? I
guess that means we should root for Baylor then, because we don't want them to get bowl eligible.
Well, they play Baylor this week, and then they play at Oklahoma next week. So I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't think they make it. I don't think they become bowl eligible.
I don't think they do either.
Because Oklahoma is going to have tons and tons to play for. Oklahoma State plays at Houston. Be interesting to see what kind of comeback Oklahoma State has from their drubbing last week to UCF. Of course, that was in the rain. It's coming off of Bedlam. Space game, a lot of things against them.
Oh, yeah, the space game, that affected it.
Well, they had
other teams' blue jerseys affected it. That's caused me to lose lots of games.
They had a full house, a lot of excitement,
I could have bought into the rain. I can buy into you just got done with a huge win against your rival.
It was the trifecta.
But
It was the trifecta.
Sometimes just stop.
Okay,
just stop. Those were 2 really good points.
Yeah. Okay.
Space game.
Now, let me ask you this. If
can we ever use the excuse, well, it's cotton game?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Energy game.
Right. Now, for Oklahoma State, for Houston, they finish with Oklahoma State, and then they play at UCF on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, a week from Saturday.
Yeah.
So let's say they go 4-8. Is that it for Dana Holgorsen there?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. That would be my guess.
Yeah. Mike Gundy was asked about Holgorsen because Holgorsen spent a year as his offensive coordinator, and he actually was as complimentary as you can be for a guy that just spent a year with him in terms of helping them with their kind of a reset of their offense. What they did and what they were doing, and then the coordinators that came in after, taking pieces of what Dana did and pieces of what Coach Gundy wanted, how he wanted it to go. But I saw this headline, Gundy talks about Holgorsen. I'm like, oh, this could be interesting. But actually, Mike Gundy was very complimentary in terms of the contributions that Dana Holgorsen made to his program, even though he was there for a year.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Mike Gundy takes a lot of shots at other coaches.
But do you feel like
just reporters
and and Bedlam?
But I mean, on one hand, he wasn't wrong. I mean, and
about what?
About being mad at the reporter.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not. I'm not a Mike Gundy hater.
Yeah,
there are many coaches that I dislike way more than him.
I think sometimes he gets kind of a bad knock
not for me.
When he shouldn't. Then Kansas State and Kansas play, and then Texas and Iowa State play. Yeah. Iowa State still has a chance to make the Big 12 championship game.
And that one, to me, does. I really feel like the last 3, our game with UCF and Kansas State and Texas Iowa State game are a bit intriguing. I just don't know. It feels like you've seen the Longhorns lose this game so many times.
Yeah. All right. We'll give you an update on the Big 12 tiebreaker system. It's intriguing.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
All right, so this Big 12 football race for second place. The Big 12 didn't really account for multiple ties for teams that didn't play each other. Because remember, prior to this year, everybody played everybody, right? So head-to-head matchups became easy for tie-breaking situations. But currently, Texas is at the top, and they play Iowa State this week. And then there's a four-way tie for second at 5-2 between Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Iowa State, and Kansas State. And should Texas and Iowa State be tied at the top with a six-way tie for second between Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Kansas State, Kansas, West Virginia, and Texas Tech at 5-3, the odds of that happening are slim because Big 12 home teams are 28-20 at home this year, and that's if they all win at home this weekend. So just say that the favorites all win out. At the end of the day, what the Big 12 has determined is that Oklahoma State would get the slot. So what they're saying now is, and they issued a statement yesterday, in the event of a multiple-team tie, head-to-head wins take precedence. If all the tied teams are not common opponents, the tied teams that defeated each of the other teams earns the championship berth, which is different than what it was originally interpreted. And apparently, the inquiry that Barry Trammell made to the Big 12 kind of caused them to take a look at this a little bit further and go, okay, this is how we interpret this. This is the clarification from them. The Big 12 also said there have been no changes to any rules regarding Big 12 tiebreaker procedures, which were agreed upon prior to the season and went into effect in August of 2023. Because earlier this week, the wording on the Big 12's website made it appear as though K-State would win the tiebreaker because those three teams didn't play each other, K-State and Oklahoma, and so there wasn't a way to have the two-way tiebreaker. So, strange as it sounds, according to this article, the Wildcats would have trumped both Oklahoma State and Oklahoma by beating their two main rivals at the end of the regular year. There was also a scenario in which the Sooners would have finished on top had KU fallen down the league standings, but that's not going to be the case. It's confusing.
Definitely is. Definitely is. It makes it odd when everybody doesn't play everybody.
So now K-State's rooting against Oklahoma and Oklahoma State instead of cheering for them. There was a scenario in their mind earlier this week. There was a scenario that
everybody went out.
That would benefit K-State. Yeah. I also read, and I did not see the scenario, but apparently there is a scenario in all of this where Kansas, Texas Tech, and West Virginia also still have hope of winning a conference championship as they are all tied at 4-3. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be something.
Wouldn't that just be wild?
There's also a scenario where the three of us make sense for 3 straight hours, a full 180 minutes. But also not likely.
Not likely.
It would be something, though. It would definitely be something.
That would be
shocking.
Shocking.
What it would be.
It would be shockingly something. But how about that? So Barry Trammell, who apparently left his job with the Oklahoman in Oklahoma City and now works for a website.
Why is that surprising to you?
Well, because he's...
I mean, like,
seriously,
every newspaper person in the world right now is writing for a website and not a newspaper anymore.
Well,
there's so few that are actually writing for a newspaper.
I guess I kind of viewed him as he works for Sellout Crowd now. He's basically my age, and maybe I just felt like that he's kind of the face of their paper, so to speak. With maybe they said to him, "Hey, you need to go find another gig because this one's not going to be around very long." Or maybe this new gig is easier on him from a travel standpoint, or things like that. I have no idea, but it just was surprising to me that.
I mean, there's many longtime nuppaper guys
no doubt.
that are the face of their newspaper and all that, where they said, "Hey, we can't afford to pay you anymore. Newspapers are different now." Blah
Sure.
blah blah, and they're writing for websites.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I guess I just was surprised by him.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I can't help but forgive me. I I hope that this is not taking with offense by you, Chuck. But I could not help but every time I hear this story of thinking, man, Chuck wishes he was Barry Trim, so he could say, "I did this. I got it changed. I made."
I
this.
wouldn't necessarily say that. I would just know that. I mean,
I can't. How many times do you think Chuck would mention on here? I called the Big 12 office. I sent him an email. I talked to them, and now look what's happening.
We'd have to change the intro of the show.
We'd have to change the size of the door.
I mean, I do.
He might go fit through sideways.
I do admire him for being the emphasis or the point of having it to be changed. That he may or may not get the credit, but he knows that his inquiry was the impetus of this clarification that had to be issued by the Big 12 yesterday.
A lot of big words in there, Chuck.
I know.
I thought it was great.
Like, as soon as I hear the story about Trammell, send him an email and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, Chuck wishes he was him.
I don't necessarily wish that was him because, I mean, I don't know.
Because then you'd be writing for a website.
Right. Then I'd be writing for a website and, I've seen Barry. I've met him. He looks much older than me and looks much more out of shape than me. And so I really wouldn't want to be him. But in that scenario, it is admirable what he was able to get done. He kind of beat his chest a little bit over that. So it's
impressive how you've found a way in this story to take shots at him. Really well
so we
done.
were fat shaming Kansas yesterday, and now we're fat shaming Oklahoma.
No, fat
Who's
shaming
next?
Clint. Yeah.
no, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Did he take that well yesterday on the bottom line? I did not hear.
when you're Fabio, Jeff, everybody's a little bit behind
I'm
you.
just going to say, if he fat shames one of our birthday girls today, he's going to be looking for a new job.
Wow. Okay.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Nice to have you with us today on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. We come to you from the First United Bank studio. Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app. It's presented by Happy State Bank. Okay. One last note on tonight's basketball game. The coach for Texas A&M Corpus Christi spent 2 years here at Texas Tech as the director of basketball operations under Billy Gillespie and under Chris Walker. Chris Walker primarily.
Okay, wow. So he was here for an interesting stretch.
He was.
Probably got some stories.
He was. I don't know if he'll have PTSD coming in or not, but he like I said, he spent a little time here. I'll give you the true specific of it.
What's the name?
His name is Jim Shaw. He was he obviously was a player back in the day. Kind of a let's see here. Yeah, he was here from he might have missed Billy. He was here the 12-13 season and the 13-14 season. So a little bit of Billy. Billy probably hired him, and then he spent time under Chris Walker as well. So that was a dark period of Texas Tech basketball, wasn't it? Goodness.
It was an interesting time, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of, it was, it was really an unfortunate time of Texas Tech basketball. Billy was here 2011 through 2012, obviously, and then just kind of got a little wonky there at the end. And that's putting it kindly. A little wonky. All right, we'll have Red Raider football in the air for you on Saturday. It's a 4:00 kick. Okay, 4:00 kick. So, plan your day accordingly on Saturday. we'll have ours planned for you, 7 a.m., Optimum Game Day Live, take you all the way up to the kick. And, of course, after the game, it's the Double T 97.3 Coors Light postgame show from the Overton Hotel and Conference Center. This week is Senior Week. It's also tonight, the final show of radio show of Joey McGuire. We'll have that for you tonight at 6. The guys will be over at Twin Peaks tonight. The Tech Talk guys from 3 until 6. That'll be their last appearance there of the year. So that's good.
Well, at least for the show. Doesn't mean they won't go there on their free time.
Right, sure. They're allowed to.
They are, absolutely.
Yeah, they're allowed to go there for lunch or dinner or watch games or whatever, wherever. But you can go by and see Aaron Dickens and Dr. Mike Gustafson today over at Twin Peaks. They'll be there from 3 until 6 today. So look forward to that. Okay? I ask you this every week. Okay, what's your confidence level going into Saturday's game?
I don't know. I feel like it was, we talked about this Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And what did I tell you? I was at a 6?
60, I think. Yeah, 6 out of 10, yeah.
I may be a little bit higher than that.
Okay.
I might be up to like 65.
Okay.
I'm nervous, though. I'm nervous. I think that they're a much better football team than their record shows. Mm-hmm. I think you could probably say the same thing about the Red Raiders. I mean, they've both been through quarterback injuries that have really hurt them, but it also feels like both are playing some of their best football right now, now that they have healthy quarterbacks again. Obviously what they did last weekend was impressive, and you can make all the points about, Oklahoma State coming off the Bedlam win and, maybe not being quite as focused and the rain affecting it and all that good stuff.
Space game,
blue jerseys. You can make those points. I won't make all of those.
Okay.
But that was an impressive performance last weekend.
No doubt.
So you would think they're a pretty confident bunch right now that feels like they can come in here and get the job done and get themselves to bowl eligibility. And I'm not here to tell you that I don't think they can do it, but I still feel like Red Raiders playing at home, healthy Baron Morton, probably playing with a lot of confidence after, winning their last 2 games and getting a big road win. So I feel good about the Red Raiders' chances. I mean, the one thing that concerns me is that it's senior game, because it always feels like that's a little bit of a emotional roller coaster and distraction and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It can definitely go either way.
Yeah, sometimes that can go your way, but sometimes, like you said, just the beginning of it, just the emotion of, playing, your final game at home and having your family there, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just trying to kind of get everything all figured out. So it can get a little south on you, no question.
Yeah, I just think it's the distraction of running out there and all that. I mean, your family is at most games, so I don't think it's that. I would guess that it's just, hey, I'm running out there and grabbing a rose and giving it to mom, and be the last time I run out there and all that. So, like you guys said, though, that's fair. Sometimes it does probably give you a little bit of a boost, but other times it just has you thinking about other things when you're supposed to be thinking about that.
Although usually it's like the walk-on guy who gets the boost. Like it's the guy that nobody thinks of that all of a sudden has, like, in basketball, like 25 points, can't miss all of a sudden, who may have 25 minutes the rest of the season combined. Like it's those type of situations more than it's your star running back that runs for 400 yards on senior day.
Remember the senior day for the Lady Raiders? Who was the girl? Oh man. Go back a couple coaches. Oh, and it was Frosty.
Frosty?
It was Frosty between her. She was handed the plaque from, what was her name? Oh my goodness.
It was after Amber Battle. It was Amber Battle was like the year before.
Oh, surely you remember this, Chuck. Oh man, her and
was it Coach Stallings?
I don't think it was before. No. I think it was before Stallings.
It was Shimmy Gray Miller.
No. It was Candy.
I don't remember. I'm sorry for bringing it up now, but
that's okay. That's
it
right.
was like they just looked at each other, and then the girl, like, I don't think she played or barely played,
Okay.
but had been like a major player for them. But there was major beef between the two of them. Yeah.
God, who was that? I remember that so vividly now. I can't think of who it was. A lot of forgetful times in those Lady Raider.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting courtside over there at press row and like looking at the two of them, like barely look at each other.
Okay. Sometimes I miss that kind of stuff just because I'm.
Yeah, we've talked about it 100 times though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just can't.
Yeah.
It's not in my. Not in my memory.
That was like the worst senior day moment I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Let's see here from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. If UCF watched our K-State game, it could be a long day with a running quarterback. Yeah, I mean you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to contain the run. If UCF plays well in the rain, maybe our dry, perfect temperature weather will throw them off this week. Hey.
Yes, right. And plus it won't be, we haven't named it a space game.
Right. It's just senior day. It's
that'll throw them off.
That'll throw. The other thing about senior day, and we've seen this a little bit. If you listen to the radio broadcast, you'll hear the guys going through it, and then you might hear, well, and he has another year, so he could come back. I think there's some guys have gotten multiple footballs, and the moms have gotten multiple bouquet of flowers because of having some extra eligibility.
Super fun.
Super fun. I knew that would bring joy to your heart, that some of these guys could still have some eligibility left. All right.
And I'm fine with them. I mean, if they have eligibility left and they haven't made up their mind, I'm fine with them going through it, but don't go through it again next year. Right.
I got it. Or if you know you're going to potentially go through it next year, then just don't go through it this year. But I don't know. I guess you got to seize the moment when you can. Jamie's question of the day is next. We will get to some comments from Joey McGuire. There's a couple that I'd really like to hear from him on. We'll do that.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
And our two questions to answer. And my question for you today, I want you to tell me who's the biggest surprise in a positive way for the Red Raider football team, and who's been the biggest surprise in a negative way. You expected more from them.
Well, I think Joran Bradley is from a negative standpoint, is I think a lot of people expected more from this year. And whether that's him, whether that's play calling, whether that's injury to the quarterback, whatever that is, that whole receiver group has been a disappointment. But I think the expectation that everybody had was that he was going to be a big part of that offense and would be a big reason why you were going to win 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games, and it's just not, for whatever reason, it's just not clicked this year. Okay. It's just not clicked. And then you're going to ask me who's been you said biggest surprise? Is that what you said?
Biggest surprise positive, biggest surprise negative.
This is going to sound maybe stupid, but I think Taj Brooks has been better than what you thought he was going to be, and more impactful on the offense than what you thought he was going to be. I mean, let's face it, coming into the year, he was a guy that, you had had circled, but I think he's performed at a higher pace than what I even thought that he would make in terms of the impact on the offense.
We weren't talking about Taj being an NFL running back a year ago at this point.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, if he hadn't performed at the level that he's performed, your record would be worse than 5-5. So I'm going to say Taj, and I'm going to say Joran Bradley.
Taj is a great answer. That was kind of where my second thought was on the positive side. And I'm going to kind of cheat here, and I apologize. I've got two groups that have been pleasantly surprised and devastated by. I've been pleasantly surprised by your offensive line in general this year. They haven't been great at anything. They've been pretty good.
Been pretty good in run blocking.
They've been good run. They've been good run blocking, but they're not like opening holes that I could run through. But they're doing a really good job in run blocking. They're doing an adequate job, I would say, in pass blocking. Nothing spectacular, nothing perfect by any extent. But I had huge questions about them coming into the season doing anything. And they've kind of done a really good job, at least in half of what their job entails as a collective group. I could not be more disappointed in your wide receiving core. When it comes to catching the football, when it comes to running their routes, when it comes to blocking in running situations, like I almost feel like those are wasted positions almost for this football team, that you could take them off of the field and just put sticks out there and be as effective.
Okay, that's a little bit too much.
Sticks out there.
Like
Jeff wants to go with a 6-back set with no receivers split wide.
You might have a better pass play. For these guys aren't getting open. They're not making their blocks on the outside, and that used to be such a prideful thing for this team, that they were the best blocking wide
That
receivers
might be the
in
most
country.
frustrating thing about this wide receiving core. I mean, that play to the sideline, and we just constantly don't pick up even a yard off of it.
Yeah.
It's like, go get you 3, 4, whatever. That's fine. Not looking for a big play, but just go get 3 or 4. We're having a hard time getting back to the line of scrimmage on a wide receiver screen. Yeah, that's so frustrating.
So, and that's a group. Like, there's not one guy that's just been making his blocks and go, well, at least he's getting it done. So I did 2 groups, but I think they're fair groups to do that with.
Okay, so for me, Taj is definitely, I would agree with, excuse me, what you guys said as far as I didn't think he was going to be this good, but to say he's my biggest surprise, I expected him to be 1,000-yard back. And so, I mean, he's been terrific. Again, didn't think we'd be talking about an NFL running back or all the above. So I agree with you guys. He's been a surprise. I just don't think I wouldn't put him in the category as the biggest one.
Okay.
For me. For me, I think the biggest surprise is, your leading tackler is a redshirt freshman in Ben Roberts.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I think he's been terrific this season for the Red Raiders, and so I would go with him as my biggest surprise. I think he's been really, really good. And again, just a redshirt freshman. So that has me super confident, and add to the mix Rodriguez. When those two are healthy, I think you got a couple of good ones to build on. So I'm excited about that. You guys are right with the wide receiving core. It's hard to not go the disappointment of the wide receivers as a whole. I'm personally going to go to another position group, and I'm going to throw 2 guys in there. It was a surprise to me, and maybe I bought into the hype a little bit too much, but I loved Adedire last year. Thought he brought great energy and was just a guy that was about to explode onto the scene. And then we heard, the world of experts talking about how Steve Linton was, the next great rush end that's going to be playing in the NFL. And so just those 2 guys right there have been a little bit of a disappointment to me.
Okay.
And I'm not saying at times that they haven't done good things, because they have. Linton leads you in sacks still. But it just, obviously injuries have factored in, but it's just, I just feel like all season long we haven't gotten enough pressure on the quarterback. And I thought those would be 2 guys, even if they're not getting sacks, they're forcing the ball out quicker. Those would be the 2 guys that I thought were going to put the most pressure.
A couple other defensive guys from a positive that stand out to me. Dadrian Taylor-Demerson.
I think he's your defensive MVP. Yeah, he's been phenomenal. I considered him my biggest surprise, but I think I expected him to be good. I just didn't think Ben Roberts was going to be great.
I think that's a great answer on the defense, and you could also add Tyler Owens maybe, and then C.J. Baskerville.
Yeah, I'd put Baskerville over Owens.
Over Owens.
Yeah,
but I think Ben Roberts was, because with with the injury to Jacob Rodriguez and what Ben Roberts has had to do to come in as a redshirt freshman, man, he's been outstanding.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Thoughts, comments, Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that. At the mobile app, Visual Edge IT hotline is open too, 806-771-0973. We have Friendship High School football on the air for you tonight. It'll be on Sunny 97.7, broadcast time 6, play-by-play at 6:30. It'll come to you from Wildcat Stadium on the campus of Abilene Christian University in Abilene, Texas. Okay, they'll take on the South Lake Carroll Dragons. Okay, the Dragons.
Let's go Tigers.
One of the new favorite books that I've been reading, Boy Wonder, is Dragons Love Farts. It's a great kids book. Great for little boys. Dragons Love Farts.
I'm just going to stop.
Also,
I'm trying to be joyous Jamie and not jerk Jamie.
Would you like me to bring it in and read it to the kids? No?
You can do whatever you want with your kids.
I'm sure your son Clint would love to hear the story.
The Rawls Jackrabbits take on the Groover Greyhounds tonight. That'll be in Canyon at 7:30. Also, the Mustangs of Andrews against Decatur, and the Muleshoe Mules against the Brock Eagles tonight. Again, the Friendship and South Lake Carroll game will be on Sunny 97.7 tonight at 6 with play-by-play at 6:30. Tomorrow night, we'll have Lubbock Cooper football on the air for you as the Cooper Pirates will take on Aledo. That'll be a toughie. That'll be at Memorial Stadium in Wichita Falls against the Bearcats, Pirates and Bearcats tomorrow night. 6:30 the broadcast time, 7 o'clock the score on the score, 100.7 the score, play-by-play. So that's among the games.
So a few years ago when Cooper got hosed on the fumble in like the state semis.
Okay.
That was Aledo, wasn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so we're due for some little striped help there.
Cooper madness, right?
Yeah.
A little Lubbock Cooper madness. Maybe
those
Chip Darden can figure out a way to take down the Bearcats.
Or just since the officials hosed him last time, they could just makeup call. Officials don't do makeup calls. Right.
Here we go. Match lit.
No, in all seriousness, and I'm not trying to poke the bear here. Don't you feel like makeup calls happen more for the baseball home plate umpire on pitches? If he calls a ball that maybe he thinks, okay, maybe that was a strike, that gets made up for faster.
No, I think it's most in basketball.
I do too. I was going to say basketball,
which I think is the hardest one to officiate. That would be my, and the play that Cooper. I mean, it's one of those things. If they had instant replay, they would have seen that the ball was out and all that good stuff. But it's that's one of those where, I mean, as a fan, you're disappointed and all that good stuff. But that's in the realm of they're human. They just didn't see it. Whatever. And that's not one that I don't know. I'm sure the Cooper fans then were really frustrated, disappointed, as they should have been. But that's not one where you're like, well, that guy was trying to cheat them. It just, they didn't see him.
Do you think we'll ever see instant replay at the high school level? Maybe at the 6A, 5A level?
I hope so.
Given all the cameras that are now at these games, I mean, at some point in time, the technology will be, I'll just say, cheap enough where...
Yeah, that's really what it boils down to.
Where you'll be able to do that.
Because, isn't that part of the reason why they don't have shot clock?
It's a cost. Yeah.
It's a cost thing?
Yeah, which is just crazy. I mean...
Well, when you're factoring in the 6A and 5A schools, yes, I'm sure all of them can afford it. The 1A schools, the 6-man schools.
Well, I mean, and it's having the cost of it, plus as far as having that clock up there and getting it set up with the technology and all that,
and the person running,
and then you have to have a person that's competent.
Well, and then
knows what they're doing.
And we don't always have that at the Division I level.
And you have to pay them.
Well, the whistle is what starts is what's supposed to start and stop the clock, right?
Do you blow a whistle when a shot goes off the backboard and hits the rim?
That's true. That's true. I thought that's true. I thought the whistle's maybe the whistle's the regular clock. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, the regular clock's the whistle, but not the shot clock. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you can't be blowing whistles in the middle of play.
You're right.
I was going for that offensive rebound. What? Stop. I heard the whistle blow.
That's right. No, sorry, I was thinking too much outside the box there. Here was going to be my question for you. Would you be opposed to instant replay for playoffs only, or maybe even state championship games only? Because when they play the state championship games, they're playing it generally,
Larger
NFL stadiums.
Don't they
I think
have
that's
it at
great.
the state championship?
I think they do.
I think it's the one place they do.
I think they do now.
Championship.
I think you're right, Jeff. And that makes a whole lot of sense with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's not a bad idea, Chuck. I mean, if you get to the postseason, but like you can't. You really would make it hard on schools if you said, okay, well, you can only choose to do playoff games in schools that are prepared for it, at stadiums that have the technology, because we know how hard it is already for these folks to get stadiums and all that kind of stuff, and that's why they're playing on Thursdays and Saturdays and all that in the playoffs and get officials and all the above. If you limited them to certain stadiums, I mean, heck, they might not even have it over there in New Mexico. What would those Texas playoff games
I don't know.
do that?
That'd be my bet. Over there in Pecos, New Mexico, they don't have those cameras. There is a Pecos, New Mexico, by the way. What about on the shot clock? On the shot clock for basketball, what about mandating it for 6A and 5A schools?
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
If they mandated it, I wouldn't be upset about it. But I also feel like it's not as big of an issue as we think it is for a shot clock violation. Like, I don't know that they're not getting a shot up in 35 or 40 seconds, whatever you would what you would set it at in a high school game, unless it's one team that is trying to really take all of the air out of the ball.
Yeah,
and in those situations, you're giving those kids a chance.
Yeah, no, and I've seen that. I've called 2 high school playoff games where the one team would get the ball and dribble out the quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking they'd get the tip or the inbound to start the third, and they would just hold the ball the whole time. And it's just like, I'm sorry, that's not basketball. I know technically it is, but let the kids play. I mean, that's just too much for me.
This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. This is they're quoting me. I was thinking too much outside the box is one of the most chuckiest things I've ever heard. Glad to provide. That's what makes this show one that you just can't put down. You got to stay with us the whole time because you might miss something.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.